Hey, what's up? I got a raw 7 net 3 l1r5 for my O levels, and in this video I'll tell you exactly how to get there or even do better than me and get a raw 6. It's not through tuition, it's not through studying 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day or more. In fact, you probably only need to study around 2, maximum 4 hours a day. And this is possible for anyone. A single digit l1r5 is possible for everyone, really. So, my promise to you in this video is that you'll learn about how I was able to sort of make an academic comeback in my O-level year, and you'll be able to make an academic comeback as well as a Singaporean O-level student. So, my name is Isaac, and I help O-level students get single-digit L1R5s without sacrificing their free time and their happiness. If you have watched me before and you want me to help you start getting A1s in 90 days whilst studying less hours, scroll down and click the top link in the description below right now. And I'll make sure that the next time your parents force you to show them your report card or whatever, you can do it with a smile, knowing that they won't see a grade any lower than an A2. So scroll down and click the top link in the description below right now. So how do you make an academic comeback? I keep saying so much. So. Doesn't even sound like a word anymore. But anyway, number one, improve your mental health. Right? Number two, practice. These are steps, by the way. Step one, improve mental health. Step two, practice. And step three, find constraints and pool levels. I'll tell you what all of these things mean. So, number one, improve your mental health. Right. The thing that's holding most students back from getting straight A1s is that their brain is not working. Literally, you sleep like 4, 5, 6 hours a day. You're addicted to social media, video games, maybe even porn. You overthink, you're often anxious and worried. You can't listen in class because your attention span is screwed up. And you're just not that happy most of the time and you hate your life. So right now, your brain and your grades are at like 5% of their full potential. So it's not even an exaggeration, maybe more like 1%. So of course your grades are crappy. And like every freaking student blames bad grades on their work ethic or their discipline or the way they're studying or their teachers, when it's quite literally because their brain doesn't even fucking work properly. And this includes everyone, even the straight A students. Like, they also have pretty shitty mental health, but they are lucky enough for their brains to be operating at like, I don't know, 10% of their full potential, which is better than 5%. That's why they get high grades. So getting good grades in secondary school has become a game of who has the best dysfunctional brain. And the way to win the game is to just not have a dysfunctional brain. Cause the thing is, O level was never meant to be actually difficult. You are able to like read English or Chinese and understand the words that the teacher is saying. You are able to process it and apply it during an exam. So your limiting factor is just that your brain is not functioning properly. And since everyone else's brain isn't functioning properly, you can have an unfair advantage by having yours be able to function properly. So mental health is literally a massive thing that you can leverage for your grades. So how the hell do you improve your mental health? There are many ways, of course, but the two big things are your sleep and your diet. Cause those two things cause like chain effects that boosts all the other areas of the mental health of your mental health as well. It like covers all bases. So how do you improve your sleep? The two big important parts for sleep are your consistency and your quantity of sleep. So that basically means you have to sleep for 8 to 9 hours a day and wake up and fall asleep at the same time every single day, including on weekends. So I mean, sleep is actually the biggest thing for this entire video. My secret to getting a raw 7 was literally I set aside 10 hours a day for sleep and I slept for like 9 hours every single day. Cause it took me some time to fall asleep back then. And I slept at like 8 and woke up at 6 a.m. even on weekends. And I did this every day for the 4-5 months before my O levels. But that was a bit late, honestly, because if possible, you should start doing this as soon as you can. If I had started improving my sleep earlier, I would have gotten a raw 6 easily. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you start sleeping 8 to 9 hours a day before I did, with the same sleep schedule every single day, you'll do better than me. Meaning you'll get a raw 6. By the way, making up for sleep on weekends is a myth, because if you oversleep on weekends, even though you're sleeping more, even though you have more quantity, your sleep will be inconsistent. You won't have consistency, which by itself fucks up your sleep. So your actionable step right now is to decide on your sleep wake schedule. If you wake up at like 6 a.m., you should be sleeping at around 8 to 9 p.m. honestly. So even on weekends as well. So set a daily alarm to wake you up at 6 a.m. even on weekends, and set a daily alarm around 8 to 9 p.m. to remind yourself to go to sleep. Alright, so the other thing is your diet. I mean, just eat normal food. Like, cut out the processed shitty foods and cut out the sugar as well. No more sugary drinks and cola or crispy chicken cutlets or McDonald's or anything like that. Or like snacks in plastic bags or anything like that. So, like, whenever you see food, you can instantly determine whether or not it's real food or it's bullshit food designed by food companies to keep you addicted to the food so that you buy more of the food so that they earn more money. So use your judgment. Over the next few weeks or months or so, try to completely cut out two things. Number one, sugary foods and drinks. So basically, anything that is sweet that isn't a fruit, cut it out. And the second thing you have to cut out is processed foods and drinks. So basically, if it doesn't look like it would have existed 500 years ago, cut that out as well. I am personally on an extreme elimination diet, which is the carnivore diet, where I basically just eat meat, eggs, and butter. But that might be too much for you. So, plus I only got into it recently after I finished my O-levels. So it's not completely necessary for you to score well for your O's. But it's definitely helpful. But what is necessary is that you try your best to cut out these two things. So actionable step right now is to set an alarm on your phone during your usual meal times where you have your meals to basically remind yourself to eat cleaner. It's gonna be very hard to cut out sugar and processed foods overnight, because they really meticulously design these foods and drinks to be as addictive as possible. So my suggestion is to try eating 1% cleaner every day. Drink slightly less of the sugary drink, eat slightly less of the processed food, and if you're able to do that every day, then you can give yourself a pat on the back or something. So step 2, practice. If you follow the things I told you to do in step 1, your brain will no longer be completely screwed up, and it's now probably functioning at 20% of its full potential, which is I mean it's still not a lot, but it's a huge improvement from 5%. So now you can actually listen in class and understand and apply the knowledge taught. Amazing, but there's a problem, because all of those months or years that you spent in school when your brain was screwed up and you haven't fixed it yet, there's a whole bunch of content that you probably haven't properly understood. And that's what's gonna stop you from getting the single digit. So what do? Study? Do you study? Do you read the textbook? Do you read the notes? Hell no. You don't have the time. So the best method of studying, I don't even like the word studying. The best method to prepare for an exam is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. And once you're done practice even more. Practice questions, practice papers. Practice is always the way. How many times have I said practice in the past few seconds? So there are 3 things about practice papers that makes them overpowered and much better than studying by just reading the notes or the textbook. So number 1, you study each topic according to their importance. So the thing about topics is that in a certain subject, not all topics are made equal. If you look at the TYS or even the past year papers of your school, you will realize that certain topics get tested basically every year, whilst other topics get tested like every decade. And certain topics constitute like half the marks of the whole paper, whilst other topics come out in like 1-2 mark questions. So when you do practice papers, instead of giving equal time and attention to each topic, which is what you do when you study by reading the notes or the textbook, you actually give more time and attention to the more important topics. And just happens naturally when you do practice papers, because the more important topics will appear more often in practice papers. So you automatically spend more time on those topics. And number two, when you practice using practice papers and questions, you actually go through a process of finding and eliminating problems that could have come up during an actual exam. So maybe when you do a practice paper and you realize, shit, I have this bad habit of spending too much time on difficult questions, or I spend too much time on this section that doesn't even carry that much marks, or things like, oh damn, if I bring a circle stencil to the exam, I'll be able to save a whole bunch of time. So this is the same way a boxer spars to practice for a boxing match, because he can actually identify the major mistakes that he would have made if he, during the actual match itself, if he didn't spar and just spent all his time, I don't know, binging YouTube videos of other people boxing, which is basically what you're doing if you just spend all your time studying by reading. So the third good thing about practice papers is that it's simple and it's also quite enjoyable. Practice papers are really, really simple. You don't have to set a time limit or anything. You can just make it open book. And you can just like do a few questions here and there in between classes or during recess. That's what I did to improve my chemistry and my math grades. Maybe this only applies to me, but I find it 10 times more enjoyable actually doing something, writing things on a piece of paper, writing answers instead of just reading. Reading is just boring as hell for me. But when I do things, I can get into a flow state and feel accomplished. So it's actually quite fun in that sense. A pattern that I realized is that I only got good at certain subjects once I started doing practice papers for them. And those subjects that I'm already good at just so happen to be the same subjects where the teacher forced us to do practice papers. So yeah, practice papers are the way. Your actual step that you can do right now is to go find some past year exam papers from your school or from your teacher or from the TYS or from your local bookstore or whatever. Download them or try to get them printed out as well, because it's 50 times better when you do the questions that are printed out than when you have to look at the questions on your laptop or whatever. You can spend like 1 to 2 hours every day on weekends and holidays just doing these practice papers. And at first, remove the time limit completely and just make it open book as well. I literally do not care if you have to spend like 10 hours on your first paper. That's fine. Just make sure you put in those hours and you'll naturally get better. Alright, so number 3, step 3, find constraints and pull levers. Alright, so once you've gotten your health on track and you've been practicing, oh my god, the phone, sorry for that. All that's left to do is to basically play this game of finding ways to get even better at doing what you do. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself at this stage. Question number 1, what is my main constraint or bottleneck right now? So basically, whenever you stop making progress, when you plateau, like when you flatline, basically, that means you have some sort of constraint or bottleneck or limiting factor, kind of like that concept in chemistry, the concept of limiting reagents, where if you mix 10 moles of hydrochloric acid with 1 mole of sodium hydroxide, you only get 1 mole of sodium chloride, because sodium hydroxide is the limiting reagent. So basically, you need to keep looking out for the limiting reagent in your academic progress, which could be literally anything. It could be a certain unhealthy habit that you're doing, a certain addiction. It could be a certain topic that you don't quite understand even after practicing it. It could be a certain paper that you are just weaker at for some reason. And once you found out your constraint, go do something about it. Like, for example, if you're weaker at a certain topic or paper, you can go book a consultation session with your teacher to talk about that topic or paper specifically. By the way, pro tip, those practice questions that you did, consider letting your teachers mark them. Or if they don't have time, select like 2 to 3 questions for them to mark. It's the best way for you to get feedback. Another question that you can ask yourself is basically how can I get more out of the time that I'm spending on my academics? So basically, what leverages can you pull to get more results out of the time that you are already spending to study without increasing the time that you spend studying? So this can be things like switching to a less distracting study area, changing your environment, meditating to increase your attention span and focus on your work, changing the time you work because you might be more productive and focused at certain times of the day than others. So, I hope this video is valuable. Once again, if you want me to personally help you get A1s without sacrificing your free time, scroll down and click the top link in the description below right now. And I will make sure that you'll see those A1s on your report card when you report to school to receive your O-level results a few months or a year from now. Give me any criticism or feedback in the comments below so that I can improve, and I wish you a good day.